Along with the ability to connect profiles, lofts also give you the option of using guide curves. And these guide curves allow you to change the intermediate profile between two profiles. So going into the lofted boss space, you choose out your profiles, and then you can see a little preview there of an option for a guide curve. So the first thing we'll do is draw in two guide curves on the front plane. And we're going to do that using the spline tool. So I'll go ahead and drop in a spline point there and connect one to all three of the circles. And then we can right click and end the spline. And we just want to click on the top point and control click the line and make sure they pierce. And you'll notice that makes the spline turn black, as though it's fully defined. But we still have the option of moving the spline based on the spline handles. So we can go ahead and modify this however we want here. It's not too important, the actual shape of it, just to demonstrate the feature itself. And then we're going to go ahead and draw a center line vertically from the origin, or rather the center of that circle. And we're going to mirror the spline about that center line. And click OK. Then I'll go ahead and exit out of the sketch. Now that we have two guide curves, we could use just these, or we can add in more if we want. We're going to go ahead and add in two more on the right plane. Before we do that, we'll just go ahead and take a look at what this loft would look like with the guide curves. So I'll select out all these corner points and then go into guide curves. And since we have multiple open entities in the sketch, it'll bring up the selection manager, and by default choose open loop. Go ahead and press OK there. And you can see how that modifies that profile. And we can do the same here and click OK. And that'll make it symmetrical about that right plane. We can go ahead and exit. So you can see the effects of the guide curves themselves. We can go back in and modify these splines if we wanted. If we went in and edited the sketch here, and let's say drag this up, and maybe drag this profile down a little bit, and exit the sketch, that'll automatically update the loft. I'm going to go ahead and delete out the loft so we can add in more guide curves. And we'll go ahead and add in two guide curves on the right plane as well. For that, I'm going to use the line tool and draw out three lines here. And we just want to add a pierce relation with all of the profiles. And on the other side, we'll go ahead and use the spline tool again and draw in a 4-point spline. And once again, we'll make these all pierce. And the reason for the pierce relations is that a guide curve has to pierce all the profiles that it passes through or passes over. If we were to, for example, drag this point out and try to use this as a guide curve, the loft would fail. So we'll go ahead and add in those Pierce relations and exit the sketch. Now we can go ahead and go back into the lofted boss base. Once again, choose out those connection points and add in those guide curves one by one. And we just made those two guide curves on the opposite sides different, just to illustrate that the guide curves on either side can have a different profile.